If this describes you, you naturally have stamina and do not need to distract yourself during sex. How do you prevent your orgasm so easily? Are you able to control the amount of sensation you feel? Or do you lack stimulation during sex? Are you controlling this with a muscle contraction? It seems that most men become quickly overstimulated and cannot control themselves. Story 1. My brain works differently. I get excited seeing my wife having intense orgasms. Even though I am having the time of my life, I am so focused on giving her pleasure that it helps keep me going. When she starts focusing on my pleasure, I reach climax in about 20 seconds. Story 2. I have the opposite problem. I have to try really hard to finish. Otherwise, it just goes on for too long, and I get tired. Then it is just not enjoyable for either of us. I can only finish when doing missionary. Anything else, I have no chance. Story 3. It is difficult to explain. Generally, when I focus solely on pleasing her first and trying to help her achieve orgasm, I cannot really ejaculate. Once she is done and I think about myself and how my orgasm will feel, it really motivates me, and I can usually reach orgasm in a few minutes. Story 4. Zoloft baby. But it has other very terrible sexual side effects too, like failed orgasm, delayed orgasm, and others. For me, I find my best natural stamina comes from when I have a good workout regimen, drink the right amount of water, and take things slow. When I try to rush through a session, everything goes faster than it should. Focus on her, get her there, and then it really won't matter how long you last, although you'll last longer. Story 5. This is a trick I learned from the treadmill and how it relates to your breathing and excitement level. When you're on a treadmill going at a steady pace of 4 to 5 miles per hour, which is the beginning of a light jog, your breathing over time becomes steady and rhythmic as your body adjusts to the work it is doing. Once in this zone, you can jog for a long time. Now imagine sprinting at full speed and how quickly you tire in a sprint. The jog allows you to go much farther and longer by pacing yourself and maintaining rhythmic breathing. While having sex, I like to keep my breathing at a steady pace similar to the jog. Try not to let the excitement of what is happening make your breathing increase in speed, which can wear you out or push you over the edge. Controlling your breathing and excitement level lets you increase your physical pace and hold the same rhythm longer and more steadily, which your partner will appreciate. I'm now almost at the point where I climax when she asks me to or when I feel she is not going to anymore. With my wife, that usually happens about 3 to 4 times over 10 to 15 minutes. It used to last 5 minutes with only 2 times for her, once orally and once just after penetration. Controlling my breath and excitement level has easily doubled the pleasure and fun for both of us. Story 6. Sex always feels good, but there is a specific mental space where I can climax because I am focused on the raw feeling of flesh on flesh, pounding her purely for my own gratification. It feels like I am giving in to some selfish desire when I take someone else's body and give it over to the demon of base lust inside me. I focus hard on that feeling of being selfish and greedy, purely focused on getting what I want between her legs. That is what drives me. To be clear, 99% of the time I am focused on connecting with my partner and making her feel good. So there is basically no chance of me climaxing early. I am just not in that mental space that makes me climax, so I can go for a long time if needed. But when she is satisfied, she lies back and gives her body over to me, and it is my turn to be selfish. At that point, I can finish in 30 seconds if I want because I can tell her to be quiet and let me pleasure her intensely. I give her what she wants and then I take what I want and we both leave satisfied. Story 7. Focus on her. Once you feel it slightly, pull out and go down on her or whichever you prefer. Take a break and give her attention. I masturbate often to always have stamina built up. If it's really bad and I can't control it, I think of something unpleasant. This helps me last longer. Story 8. Focus all of your attention on making her climax, preferably more than once. Get out of your head and into hers. Do not think about your penis at all. Also, try slow intercourse or just grind, no thrusting. Keep the focus on her. I want my partner to beg me to climax. Then let her enjoy it. If that does not work, try calculating your insurance deductible. Story 9. I'm so focused on giving my partner a pleasurable experience that I don't relax enough to enjoy it myself. It's like I'm performing a task. It seems like I value the validation I get from the act more than enjoying it myself. Story 10. For me, control is a double-edged sword. I focus on her and lasting, but it ends up feeling like a task rather than a pleasurable experience. It feels like trying to balance the scales without enjoying it too much, so I do not finish too quickly, but still keep enough excitement to finish. Otherwise, I get burnt out and will not finish. Story 11. You can always pull out and let your fingers take over for a moment. Try doing it for longer periods each time. She stays satisfied, and you gain more stamina plus more intimacy in the long run. Story 12. You either can or cannot, I think. I have been in a room full of friends with limited experience as teenagers on holiday. For beds, for couples together, and the results were the same. The guy who lasted the longest always did, and the 1-minute man was always the 1-minute man. The only privacy we had was the dim lights. Story 13. Practice edging. See how close you can get to climaxing without climaxing and see how long you can maintain that state. I grew up meditating, so I imagine the breathing techniques helped as well, but I do not have a before and after comparison to know for sure. Story 14. I read somewhere about imagining being deeply intimate with a man. That was supposed to help with controlling ejaculation. I tried it, but it did not work. Story 15. Change your pace or position when you feel like you are getting close. If you are still having trouble after trying a couple of different positions, stop and focus on her pleasure only. Story 16. Focus on her and allow yourself to finish naturally. Pace yourself and be in tune with your body. Factors such as physical condition, cardiovascular health, self-confidence, and hormone levels influenced by diet and quality of sleep play a role. Take care of your health, be present with your partner, and prioritize her satisfaction. Story 17. Being laser-focused on her pleasure combined with a sincere desire to be the one she thinks of afterward. Oh, and maximizing your Yelp rating. Story 18. No pornography, no masturbation. Stop trying to please yourself and focus on pleasing her. Sexual intercourse is only 10% of the experience. I have a 4-inch penis and I used to have partners lined up around the block. If you slow down, pay attention, and read her body language, she will communicate everything you need to know. Do this. Master touch, restraint, teasing, and oral techniques, and you will have her completely satisfied. After this, if you finish in 4 minutes, it will still be great and feel like much longer. Even if not, she will not mind. It really is not always about the penis. Story 19. My man has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and is easily distracted, so I think doing something else will be enough to reduce stimulation. Story 20. A few key ways. Shift your mindset. Let yourself be. Don't try hard to avoid climax. Just absorb everything and enjoy the moment. Next, focus on knowing your body during sex. Understand what stimulates you, what lowers your arousal, where your milestone points are, and act accordingly. Some ways to do this without interrupting sex include shifting focus to breathing, sound, and your own movements. Speeding up and slowing down as needed. Changing positions, pausing and shifting to other acts of intimacy like oral sex, kissing, touching, teasing, and then resuming when you feel grounded. Once you know yourself, it becomes easier. Practice these things consistently with fluidity, and you will be one of the best partners she has ever had. Story 21. In my mid to late 20s, my wife wanted me to dominate her. My mind went to a different place, and it was like I went partially numb. I got into it much more than I ever thought I would. I didn't have to distract myself or take breaks. My sensitivity felt like it stayed at 85 to 90%, and I was able to focus on pleasing her while giving her more orgasms than I could count. I was able to stay there for as long as I wanted until I decided I was ready to finish. Then, when I focused on that, it took me 2 or 3 minutes to get there. Since then, it has been mostly the same even when I'm not in that mode. I am 48 now, and I can still do it. I am completely convinced that it is all in your mind. Focus on her and forget about yourself. Story 22. More sessions tend to control it well. To be clear, it has mostly become more difficult, and I have to push myself to the finish line rather than being able to do it quickly and make a conscious decision not to. Also, you tend to find certain positions have varying levels of ability to push you. You can take advantage early on with the ones that do not. Story 23. Spend more time downtown. Assuming you enjoy oral stimulation can arouse you, but the lack of penetration may prevent completion. Also, focusing on pleasuring your partner in general helps, even during penetration. Wait for her to ask you to climax. You can control it. Story 24. I don't have to deliberately control. I think over the years, somehow it got dialed in without any effort. I should also mention my partner has been the same person for close to 2 decades. So, a mental connection is also factored in. Now, when I think about it, I can say that it's session-dependent like fire at will, and the will belongs to the session dynamics. Story 25. Since day one, I have lasted a long time. It is not really a secret or technique. I just rarely ejaculate during intercourse. Girls actually get offended, and I have to blame it on some medication that I am not actually taking. Story 26. I think it's simple but requires practice. An orgasm is a cycle. Your arousal begins to rise, then you reach a plateau and ejaculate. When your arousal starts to rise, then slows down or even stops, and then settles before resuming, it's possible that your arousal sinks and doesn't rise again, meaning you don't orgasm. But most of the time you can resume, and when your arousal rises again, you slow down or keep going if you want to climax at that point. It sounds simple, but it takes practice to stop because you are compelled to keep going and climax. Story 27. For me, I found that my stamina changed when I was with a partner I truly loved. In my marriage, which is now over, the love was gone, so I only cared about reaching climax, which happened quickly. In my current relationship, the love is deep, and I no longer feel the need to simply reach climax. Story 28. I read in Maxim magazine in 2002 that you were supposed to picture Robin Williams naked on a toilet, eating a bucket of fried chicken while trying to list the New York Yankees starting lineup. Works every time. Story 29. As you age, you'll realize that long sessions of penetrative sex are unnecessary. If you're trying to last longer just to please your partner, focus on improving foreplay and oral stimulation. You can do much more with your mouth and fingers than with penetration alone. To answer your question, it gets easier when you've recently had sex or if you keep having sex with the same partner. If it's a new partner, don't be embarrassed. Most people climax quickly when engaging with someone new. Story 30. I have almost complete control over when and if I reach orgasm. I don't know if it's genetic or years of mandatory edging endurance built up during the days of dial-up modems. But I think it's also about being very focused on her needs, so there is less focus left over for paying attention to my own sensations. Story 31. I do not like sex as much as I enjoy the actual build-up to it, so usually I decide when I want to climax. However, if I am with an attractive woman, I usually think of something unpleasant to slow down the process, such as a phobia like a disease or my grandmother's face. Story 32. So unless I experience it frequently, I am lucky to last a minute. After about a week of daily experience, I can basically decide when I finish. Until then, you tease until she is right on the edge, so if you finish quickly, with any luck, she is not far behind. Story 33. I used to be great at it. I was frequently sexually active back in the day. Then I was single and didn't sleep with anyone for 5 years. Now I have trouble. I'm trying to regain it, but it's tough. I used to masturbate a lot more and got good at knowing which movements would slow down climax. I would think of distracting thoughts if I was getting too close and not ready to finish. Flexing pelvic floor muscles at the right time can potentially delay orgasm. However, there is a chance that either the orgasm happens and you don't ejaculate, then lose your erection, a ruined orgasm which is very unsatisfying, or it just doesn't work and you ejaculate anyway. Try to masturbate for extended periods. As a man, most of the time I masturbate, it's just a quick relief and I can finish in under a minute. But try not to do that. I feel like your body gets used to it. Also, if you know you're going to have sex that day, masturbate before you go to meet someone. Even if it's a couple of hours before, it can still reduce sensitivity a bit. I used to do that on first dates or dates I knew would end up in sex. Story 34. When I was in my teens and 20s, I had very little control unless I went for a second round shortly after. Now I am in my 50s, and I can either have a quick experience or go for hours. Practice makes perfect. Story 35. When I was young, I would think about cars. Like with my first few girlfriends, it was so exciting it was hard to last. I am a 48-year-old male, so I had little access to pornography back then. I was a big car enthusiast, so I realized that if I closed my eyes for 30 seconds and thought about the new Porsche 911 Turbo or Lamborghini Diablo, I could lose the visual stimulus entirely. This would slow down the excitement a bit and allow me to recover. To this day, I still have a lot of horsepower, torque, weight, and lateral G-force statistics memorized because I would be going over them relentlessly in my head between the ages of 16 and 20 as I was intimate with my girlfriends as often as possible. The positive side was I had excellent control. I climaxed when I or they wanted to. A few times, I was able to time our climaxes together, which was always mind-blowing for some reason. Feet were always shaking on both sides. I believe it was a big advantage for my sex life. I routinely had long sessions and learned at a young age to read a woman's body. This skill has been enjoyable for me and most of my partners. Story 36. I don't worry about it. If I finish too quickly, I can stay inside until she's had enough, I get soft, or finish a second time. For my wife and me, and granted this is very recent in our relationship, we shifted to this mindset in the last 3 months or so, but we have no end goal in mind except for pleasure. If either of us wants something specific, we can ask. Let me ask you a question. Whatever partner you are with, have you talked to them about it? Does this person think it's an issue? Do they prefer you last longer? If you haven't, I highly recommend having a one-to-one conversation. Story 37. I just don't come that easily. Feels really good. I'm really into it. I just need to give it a good effort to climax. I rarely masturbate. I have sex regularly with several different women I know, so it is always exciting and new. If I wear a condom, I cannot climax. I cannot climax from oral sex. Story 38. No idea. It just takes a while to get there. Always has. To the point, quite often I won't end up coming, but it's still fun. There are so many aspects to sex, and yet most go through life never understanding that. Just pump and dump. So boring. Story 39. As I get older, my stamina for thrusting is outlasting my endurance. I'm not really sure what the trick is. Quick encounters were never a thing for me. My first time lasted 2.5 hours. I was nervous about finishing too quickly. I admit I have a pornography addiction, and that may be part of the issue. Basically, I am not stimulated enough. I like someone else's suggestion here. Focus on her pleasure more. That has always been my focus. I am much more concerned with pleasing my partner than myself. Funnily enough, though, my current significant other focuses more on my pleasure than hers. This is the best sex life I've ever had. Story 40. Basically, it is willpower and pacing yourself. If you feel you are getting close, stop and switch your focus to her pleasure. Story 41. I wish I could tell you how, but I have always had great stamina. I have had consistent sexual activity for a long time, so I am sure that contributes to it. Story 42. It is a learned skill. You have to practice. By practice, I mean practice alone when you can focus and learn what control feels like. I will admit that it does take quite a bit of practice, but I always enjoy my practice sessions. A fleshlight is very helpful. Story 43. Get a good maca root supplement and ashwagandha. Take 2 ashwagandha in the morning and 2 at night. Take 2 maca at night, and before you go to get your groove on, take 3 maca. You will not come unless she is otherworldly. Story 44. When not having sexual intercourse, practice clenching and relaxing your buttock muscles for thrust muscle control. Now add Kegel exercises into the thrusting cycle along with slow, patterned breath control. It takes practice to find the balance to avoid instinctively clenching your pelvic floor muscles aggressively, which can lead to a quicker orgasm. Also, realize certain sexual positions may be too exciting or stimulating for you. Story 45. When I feel that I am getting close, I start thinking of the least attractive thing possible. The most likely candidate for this is an overweight, hairy, naked historical figure, which always works. This way, I can easily last for half an hour and probably could go for 1 hour if I wanted to, but that would probably feel like a chore to be honest. Story 46. I know I am a female, but the current man I am seeing said he will start thinking about work if he feels himself getting too close. Story 47. Many years of being dominated and outmatched by strong women teaches a man to control his climax. Story 48. Beet juice and other foods that promote blood flow. Things that promote libido and energy, like ginseng. You are usually the one controlling the rhythm, so go slower or change positions. Also, make sure you are using the right condom. Otherwise, if it is too tight, you will not last as long or it could break. Calculus Sexual Dysfunction is a great resource for male sexual health-related questions and information. Story 49. So I am going to give a disappointing answer. I think it is similar to depression or urinating. When you can do it, it is fairly easy. There are all sorts of tricks and techniques that can help and make it more effective, but when you cannot, you simply cannot. The basics are just do it. I used to have incredible control of my own body. I could consciously stop my heart if I wanted. I am sure not to the point of death. I never went past skipping 2 beats because it hurts a lot, and also, why would I? I can still stop hiccups with just a bit of concentration. I used to be able to delay or time my orgasms very well. I could get them to within about 10 to 30 seconds of when I wanted pretty easily. Then I went on antidepressants that made it so that I basically had a window of opportunity to orgasm. It was inconsistent when it would appear, and I never knew when it would close, but once I passed it, it would get extremely difficult to impossible to orgasm. I got to the point where I was frequently faking orgasms because I just did not want the girl to feel bad or like it was her fault. You have no idea how hard some women took it before I started doing this. Soon after, I started just taking the window when it appeared, but unfortunately, this window came sooner and sooner in sexual activity, and before long, there was no window. I just went back to climaxing when I climax. All the tricks I had that used to be able to bring me back from the brink of orgasm stopped working even when I wanted them to. With that said, here are the tricks. Practice when masturbating. Edge yourself and then stop. Push on your perineum. Alter pace, slow down. Do pelvic floor exercises a lot. This helps the most and makes your orgasms more powerful. Use condoms. This is almost cheating, but it really helps. Story 50. Your post has not been removed. This is just for your information. Ask Men does not moderate for the serious tag like AskReddit. If you are concerned about your question not being taken seriously, you may want to consider removing it and rewording it. I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit if you have any questions or concerns. Story 51. One word. Kegels. More than one word, 160 to 200 per day, 1 to 3 second holds to start, then go for longer. Sets of 10 to 20 in the shower, often broken into 2 showers per day, or whenever works for you. Story 52. Take it slow. I find that once you edge and calm back down enough, there is a certain point you pass where it is just easy to keep going and you are a bit desensitized. Story 53. I was a minute man. It was a huge problem for me and many others. Several years ago, I started using Trimix. I could get an erection in 5 minutes that lasted an hour or more, even after ejaculation. I even experienced multiple male orgasms. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.